Sa mga platform ng social media ngayon, madalas na napapansin ang kalidad ng nilalaman. Sa Den, ang mga gumagamit ay nabayaran para sa paglikha, pagsusuri, at creation ng kalidad ng nilalaman. Ang mga tagalikha ng nilalaman ay gantimpala batay sa pakikipag-ugnay at maabot ng kanilang post o komento. Ang mga tagasuri ng nilalaman ay gantimpala batay sa bilis at resulta ng kanilang mga hula tungkol sa aling nilalaman ang uuso o mag-viral. Ang mga may-ari ng komunidad ay gagantimpalaan batay sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa loob ng kanilang komunidad. Sa Den, nagbabayad ang kalidad ng nilalaman.
What's up, denizens? Welcome to another DENDAO governance call. It is Thursday, August 18th. We do these every week at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll give some updates on what's going on with Den, take some feedback, and discuss things that need to be discussed. So let's see. We've got myself, Dave. I'm back from vacation, so doing work again and keeping you updated with all the things as much as possible. And Joe's with us as well. Founder and architect of Dragon Chain, which Den is enabled by. We are powered by Dragon Chain. So we've got we have an agenda. We've got new layers that will be created next week, Monday or Tuesday. We have some feedback on our most recent prioritizations vote that we'll discuss. There was an annoying bug in the app you've probably noticed that has been squished and shipped. I don't know if it's out yet, but it's to the app stores, so they'll do their whatever their review is and get it out if it's not out already. I know I ran into that when I was in Iceland trying to upload some videos and photos and stuff. If that's still happening to you, you can use the web browser on your phone, which that was the workaround that I did, or a regular old computer if you've got one of those still. And then, as usual, we have a link to join the show. If you go to this post in the DENDAO layer on Den.Social for August 18th, you'll find a link to join the call, and that's where you can join in and talk about all the things along with us. And as a reminder, this is just a meeting. It's not a show or anything. You don't have to come on and show your face if you don't want to. If you want to just come on and discuss and turn the camera off, that's cool too. And that's it. We'll get on into it. Looks like we got a couple of denizens in the lobby. Let us know in the chat whenever you join. Let us know in the private chat whenever you're ready and configured and have yourself set up, and then we can bring you up. But before we do that, let's run through the first part of the agenda. So August LCP results. We got some good ones. We have, by lore, we have natural health and conspiracy theories that won. So that'll be great. I've been wanting conspiracy theories to win for a while. I didn't know how long it was going to take with the way that we're, not doing it's not as easily to game the system anymore. We fixed that. So I couldn't just magically make it happen.
I think also, it was conspiracy theories and anime won by lore.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
So conspiracy theories and anime won by lore. And then natural health would be the one that won by unique voters. Yes, there it is. Cool. So just a reminder on how that works. We take the top proposal by unique voters, and that wins one category. And then on the lore side, since you can vote more than once, however much lore that you generate by using Den, you can just vote on whatever you want. However many times you want. You want to put it all into one, great. And because of that, we don't take the number one. We dig down and make it a little bit less able to be gamed. In the past, it was always just the same one that won both categories when we were doing it that way. So we did number 5 and number 13. That was conspiracy theories and anime and manga. So new layers. Over the course of the weekend, you can use some of the alternate creation methods, which is there's 2 ways to get the layer that didn't quite win that you still want to see created. There's 2 ways to do that. One of them is the runners up, which is in the category by unique voters, the 5 runners up. So number 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. You can pay a fee, or anybody can pay a fee to get those created. Starts at 200 and goes up to 1,000. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 the closer it was to winning, the cheaper it is to pay that fee. So anybody can do that. Contact, emails. What is it? Support. You know what? It's right in front of me. Any denizen or group that doesn't can submit the required matter to create the layer, and there's a form that you can fill out with a handy link. So click on the handy dandy link and fill it out. Now, if you have another one that isn't in that runners-up list, and it has at least 8 unique voters, you can still get that to be created. That's a pretty long list. If you dig down into the category of by unique voters, it goes down to like 100 before it starts getting out of that range. So there's a bunch of them in there that you can create. Some of them don't have a lot of votes on them yet. So if you know anything about the difference between a LCP layer and a business layer, you'll know that the LCP layers have a hard capped limit on the number of lot. So you can kind of find some interesting, if you have something that you want to do and that you want to build, there's some interesting opportunities in there to limit ownership, at least in the beginning, and then you can give them out, tip them out to whoever starts participating in it to grow that community more. So depending on what you want to do, there's options. So check that out. You've got until basically midnight UTC Sunday night, right? 11:59 UTC on Sunday to get those in. And then Monday morning, we'll see what we've got and create some layers. So be on the lookout for that. Litecoin Lisa says, yay, conspiracy theories. I agree. I like them. Even if they're not true, I still like them. I like watching, the rabbit holes on YouTube and digging up the kind of psycho posts on 4chan and stuff like that. It's interesting to see what people's minds come up with. So we can get all that on chain. Right? Yeah, exactly. So if we start discussing them here on Den and started getting them on chain, especially if you're doing any original research on that, it's important to know that all of the posts on Den are proven to the blockchain. Now, we don't have the proof reports yet, but they're all there. So once that prioritization vote gets in to where that particular feature wins, maybe the next round, maybe the one after, whatever, we'll be able to, even the ones that haven't, in the past, all that's there. So we'll be able to pull down a proof report and see all of that. So that'll be super cool.
And I mean, by the way, if there was original research or original content put in there, I seek that out. I put a ton of energy into,
for sure,
original stuff. So
because it's one thing to see something somewhere and be like, hey, look at this and have a link. It's something else entirely to write an article about it. You know, that takes time and effort. I don't always scour the all the nooks and crannies of Den, but whenever I see stuff like that, be it in travel or be it in politics or all or red pills or whatever, I'll try to you got to use up your energy every day. Use it or lose it. You don't, if you don't use it, you don't gain anything. And actually, since I'm talking about it, you do actually earn from just using your energy, whether or not you make it into the consensus correctly or not. You may earn a little bit of matter just for using up your energy every day. So find stuff to lay it on. If you're going to go to bed at night and not wake up for 8 hours, you're going to have more when you wake up anyway. So why not just use it up, right? Spread it around. All right. So there's the LCP results. And then the next thing we have, I've mentioned the Den app bug already. I don't think that needs a whole lot of discussion, but the DENDAO RFI, we have something that won the prioritization vote for the next feature on Den, and that is a good one for conversation. And I think unless you have a reason to hold off, Joe, I think this is probably a good time to go ahead and bring in our 2 guests who are waiting in the lobby to go ahead and start talking about this.
Right on. Right on.
All right. So we have I Am, who is commonly on my coffee show on Wednesdays. So thanks for joining us there, sir. And we also have Greg from Rivet, who you may have seen hosting as Master of Ceremonies just a couple of hours ago on World Blockchain Roundtable. And he's back to talk about Den. So thanks for joining us and hanging out with us today, y'all.
Hello, one and all.
Super happy to be here, guys.
Awesome.
So our last priorities vote, we have what was it called? It was the one on metrics and leaderboard anyway. So we're going to get some work done on the metrics page and a proper leaderboard to go ahead and give us an overview of whatever we need an overview of. That's kind of what we're talking about here in this RFI. What should be on that leaderboard? In my opinion, a leaderboard is really, really good for driving healthy competition and fun, fun in games, which we all need a little bit more of in our lives. So the questions that were posed, what Den is looking at for ideas on, and we have a few replies that we can read. What metrics should be added to the current metrics? How to display metrics, and what should be included in the leaderboard. If you aren't familiar with the metrics page, that's where you go to if you click on payouts on your personal Den page, that'll take you to the metrics page, and you can look at, there's some basic stuff for all of Den overall, and then that's where you can look at your individual metrics and your individual, what your rewards are for your posts and things like that, right? So that's what that's talking about.
I have a question.
Yes, what you got?
Would it be possible, or do you guys plan on doing a metric that would be sort of a list of core metrics plus a timestamp so that people could relatively easily verify the state of the list on any given date without having to do too much assembly of their own?
Gotcha. You mean so basically, if there's the list of core metrics being
right, like the state of the list in one list in an entry on the list that you could query,
like a versioning system, basically. So you can look and see what it used to be or what it was 2 days ago.
Right. Exactly. Something like that.
Everyth's on the table.
Something like historicals. Is that what you're meaning, Greg?
Yeah,
what was
that when it went to the blockchain for commit for verification, that it would be verifiable that was the state of it in one instance.
Gotcha.
Right.
So all of the actions are on chain. The mining operation that happens at the end of every 24-hour period, the entire results of that are on chain, and the intent was say, and I don't know about the metric side. I don't know if we're doing that currently or not on chain, but we are building the history already, and some of them already have a history with a chart and stuff. But totally, I agree that say, if you let's say we had, for example, the layer, how do I say this? How much matter total has been mined by this layer in the past 30 days, right? And then it might be ranked with another one, but then you should be able to see a nice line chart where this one's trending up, this one's trending down, they're competing, stuff like that. And then also things where you could break it down by per lot as well. So okay, this one produces more, but there's also a lot more lots. So this one who might produce a little less, each lot is worth more than that other one.
Or if I wanted to mess with my Twitter following and tell them that I was like the king of something that I'm not. And so I went to some kind of leaderboard ranking, took a screenshot, and then put my grandpa ape in there next to Greg, using a handy editor. Could somebody call me on it by pointing to a verifiable proof? And I think that a lot of people will do that, not because they want to trick people, but I think a lot of people will like the ability to see something that they know they can also say it's proven.
Well, they could just go look at the webpage where the data is, or I guess if you don't want to trust what the rendering is on the webpage, you would have to have some sort of proof report for that, I guess.
Yep. But if you're like me, I take a lot of screenshots, so maybe that's a weird behavior. But if I see something interesting, the first thing I do is go click, and then sometimes I just move on.
That should be. This is off topic as hell, but that should be. So everybody has like green for Windows. There's a green shot. It makes Windows screenshotting way better. There should be like a dragon shot where you take a screenshot and it's on chain, so that you can be like, no, this is the actual what it isn't edited. Anyway, just a passing thought.
That's a cool idea. That would also address the same fundamental thing I'm driving at here. There's just so much value in lists that you can prove are valid and aren't just somebody, who happens to be particularly good with font spotting,
Yeah, I would say that would probably just be something where you just go to the website and verify it yourself, because you can look at the metrics and see.
The great thing about it is if we wanted to, do gamification type stuff, we could make like a Denizen leaderboard, the best evaluator and the best content creator, and every day the leader would get an NFT badge that would be on their profile.
Yeah, see, that's something I've thought about too.
I like that.
Is like, yeah, and I don't know, I am. I don't know if I was talking to you about this or if it was somebody else recently, but having the leaderboard, not only have information there, but have it to where like, well, just what Joe was talking about. Like if you are the top matter earner that day or that week or whatever the period is, that it would be interesting and neat and fun and collectible to have a little NFT representing that, and if there's only, if there's one a day, because there's one payout period a day, that would give us, 7 winners a week. And then there's your emission, and you could do that with layers somehow too. I guess you could maybe have badges for layers if they win a category that could be displayed next to like wherever the, I want to say Cardinals, but Canaries are, stuff like that.
Well, and by that way, we'll know how the distribution of mining happens between the layer competition, and be able to use that to finally implement how we charge monthlies on business layers, right? So LCPs wouldn't have to pay, but if you come in and create a business layer and it just kind of sits there, you're going to be paying, and there would be rules around it, right?
Yeah, so, based on activity and relative health and stuff like that. Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So, Greg, you mentioned core metrics. What kind of metrics? What kind of leaderboard things are going to be up there? What do we want to see?
One of my favorite things to do with data, and I love playing with data. Like it's something that I've ever since I found out that there was a way to use a terminal and CSVs to play with it without having to stare at the god awful green they applied to the Excel bar by default. I've been a fan. My favorite kinds of fields are fields of lists. So anytime somebody starts talking about metrics, I think, ooh, can we have a metric with a list of metrics? And the ideal would obviously be customizable, right? Like you can select what's in the list, but I'm also okay with taking the whole thing and filtering down with a little bit of why can I not think of the very obvious?
That is kind of what we're talking about though, right? Yeah, because we have all of it's there. We have everything on chain already. So what we're talking about is how do we display that? Is it something where you literally click buttons to filter it? Is it something, and maybe that's probably not, I wouldn't think that that's the best, unless it's like an advanced mode or something.
Well, obviously you want to do it in the way that perform the best. That's one of my favorite parts about lists of lists. I don't know what mechanisms you guys are using, so it can vary quite a bit. And I wouldn't want to step into your developer's shoes and say, hey, you have to implement it this way because this is the only way I want it. But it's something that works like that, to where you can very quickly and efficiently query all of the data without having to write anything too complex.
That's what I was getting ready to say, is that the query function, on the blockchain, I don't know how robust we already have some kind of querying function.
We do. It's pretty good too. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Speaking of different core matrix, something that I think would be interesting would be to see like how many active users were on Friday versus Monday, or again, going back to that gamification. Okay, is it better for me to do this long, extensive posting on a Friday evening, or is it better to post it on a Monday morning when everyone's at work? These kinds of things, as well as inactive,
that's kind of where
users.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my head's at too, because we don't even have some of the basic stuff that is, really super basic decision making leaderboard stuff, where I used the example recently of on my trip. I didn't know if should I post this in the travel and photography layer, or should I post this in the travel and explore layer. And you could decide that based on, okay, what's the average energy applied to post in this layer versus that layer, or what are the average number of, like, does it even reach consensus, right? On Den, you can get all the energy in the world, but if you only have one evaluator, you're not getting as much of a payout as if you had less energy applied, but with like 20 evaluators and reaching a consensus.
And
right?
that also applies to how many subscribers are in that layer. It kind of makes me think of let's say the board layer, or what's happening now. I can't remember the exact name.
Current situation,
current situation, right? So if we had what's it called, where you're posting, you're cross posting.
Yes.
It'd be kind of neat. You post it there, and then or someone else would immediately cross post it in other layers. Who would get those? That, I don't know. It would be like a matrix there.
Well, yeah, this is kind of why I think that the leaderboard is a really good one to put in before things like cross posting, because you can use what's on the leaderboard to then inform other stuff. For example, one of the metrics on the leaderboard could be which layers are most, like, you'll be able to naturally sort of find out where the sister layers are, because if there's 2 or 3 layers that commonly have content cross-posted between each other, then you can see, oh, there's a relationship there, right? There's some, like, maybe there's similar communities that are in both, or that kind of thing. And so stuff like that, like I said, like individual denizens, who wins today's top 5 energy applied. Maybe it's not even rewards. Maybe people don't want everyone knowing what their rewards are, but you could see what the energy applied is. The subscribers, the number of subscribers in a layer, I'd be more interested in the number of active subscribers, and how you quantify that. What is an active subscriber? Is it someone who logs in once a week? Is there like a heartbeat or a tempo to the layers where they can be sorted by tempo?
Well, and that's the other thing too. We can use the active subscribers to improve the quorum and consensus measures in the algorithm, because I don't know how precisely, but we can make it so that the more active the layer is, the more weighted the consensus is, maybe, because effectively, if we have more eyeballs on it, then we should expect better signal. So something anyway, just for comparators, it would help a lot.
One other cool thing that would be, I think, neat, that you guys definitely, I think, is it's on vision and on mission. Like, people, I don't think get a very clear idea what metrics are available from both the browser and the app, and what kind of things you can learn about yourself, even from what's measured. So it would be neat to see some metrics that are meant to sort of teach you about the ones that they don't usually like to talk about, because they're a little creepy when you first meet them. But if you use them knowingly, because you want to help yourself, as opposed to you want to exploit others, teaching people about those by exposing them might be a really interesting thing. Like, one of my favorite metrics is setting average, or rather median points of clusters of scroll behavior. Like, you can find out if you're a jittery scroller, or if you read articles all the way to the end, or things like that.
On that, with reading articles all the way to the end, I think a good metric would be like which layers most often reach a quorum, or have higher consensus, that kind of thing. Lisa mentioned rewards for quality of content, and I feel like that's one way to measure if a layer has, on average, more quality content than others, because you might reach a quorum, a positive quorum, or maybe also the negative, the opposite. It would be a good place to put. There's a lot of things people don't know as well, I guess, is the next thing I want to talk about, which is things like using up your energy actually do give you gives you rewards and matter every period. Both the positive and the negative evaluations have two different pools. So this is a good place, I think, to put, I don't know how we display it, but to put literally like, okay, here's your different pools, and here's maybe even, the top denizen from each pool that won that pool, or has the most from it. So things that are educational, along with being that's the balance, I guess, along with being presented in a way that's easy enough to digest and scan over and look at. It's got to be useful. It can't be buried in a whole lot of stuff.
Especially considering like all of the denizens right now that are leading the charge are going to be the people who someday are going to be responsible for moderating huge communities, right? Like when all of Reddit finally gets the picture and ditches that hellhole for Den, they're going to come over, and all of a sudden you're going to have to know these metrics in order to manage a big community. So to a certain degree, like these metrics can help us prepare for that and help people ease into the role and do it really well, so that when the world comes looking and say, how's this community management experiment playing out, probably they'll probably scoff at the likelihood that it will work well at first. You like see these sophisticated conversations about metrics, like, what did these guys do? Well, they started early.
Right.
So
to go back to excuse me, Lisa's point, quality of posting, that's obviously determined by how much energy a posting gets. But if we start looking at, okay, well, which layer received the most energy, that really doesn't tell you anything if a particular layer has a lot of, subscribers in it versus a layer that has fewer subscribers.
Yes.
And so we're going to have to come up with some kind of ratio or analysis that's going to spit out, okay, this is, this layer only has, 300 people in it, but for those 300 people, its amount of energy is far exceeds, a layer that's got 6,000 people in it.
Right. And maybe there can be different ways of looking at the same data, representing it, right? Because there could be a per capita type thing, or there could be something akin to volume normalization on like a music album or something, where you take all the ranges and you make, like all the 100% the same, so they look similar. I don't know exactly, but I see what you're saying is like, it's just same thing that we use. So the reason that we use lot for the lot emissions for the behavioral governance and the DENDAO voting is because you can get a really specific measurement, since the lot is different per layer,
Right.
You can get a specific measurement based on the emissions of like how valuable that particular token is relative to others when you consider how much rewards you get from being an owner in that layer. And that kind of measures how, some of them have 6 million lot, some of them have 600 lot. So there's stuff to use there. And there's going to have to be a lot of design work around what do we use and how do we use it, and then how's it displayed, so that it's easily understood.
Absolutely. Well, especially because most of that stuff is usually displayed with relatively sophisticated graphs that people who are in finance created to make their jobs faster, right? But folks are going to need to come in and be able to interpret this at any level of expertise. So it's going to be a new design challenge.
And maybe again, just to like reiterate a little bit, Lisa's talking about tags. If there's a metric on the leaderboard for the best taggers, who's our most reliable taggers on the platform, that might be a way for you to understand, if you didn't know already, that it's actually rewarded to be a good tagger. Maybe you didn't know that you got rewards for tagging, but when you see people, oh, here's our top earners for tagging, then oh shit, I get paid for that, that kind of thing.
And the it badge NFT, because it's tagged.
What's that?
Well, it becomes an educational tool as well.
Right.
Because,
that's what I'm getting at.
Tags are important. So I need to start, clicking on those tags or using those tags. So the leaderboard becomes an educational tool as well.
Right. And it's probably the hardest way to design it, but it's also probably the most useful way to design it too, so that it reduces overhead on support calls. It reduces the learning curve. You don't have to, dig in so much to the docs or the white paper or the FAQ if it's just naturally gleaned that way.
We found very early on that a key component of a behavior system is the metrics, because I have to know what actions I am being rewarded for or penalized for in order for my behavior to be tuned. It has to be as clear as possible, and sometimes that's the hardest part, but
Right.
just the simple fact that, and it's kind of an interesting thing because it's designed to work from multiple contexts, that I can come in sight unseen and not care about the efficiency of my actions. I can just say, I'm going to post this. I don't care whether people like it or not. I'm going to post it. And then, my actions are attenuated if I'm displaying bad behavior early on. And yet, if I realize, oh, I posted that and I got a whole bunch of matter. Wait a minute. And then I might start looking into it. And then I can go all the way down to the algorithms and say, oh, here's how I compete. Nobody else is doing this. I'm going to come in the middle of the night on a Sunday or something, something like that, where I'm going to have better exposure. Or maybe I'm going to come in at the right time before the big energy people come on and spend their energy, right? So it's an interesting thing.
That's great. And the cool thing is that sets up like an award show over here where we can literally have like the draggies, and people can do.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing. Yep.
Not bad. Yeah.
Yep. One other thing that I think kind of bears on or bears mentioning here is one technique that behavioral I hate to say behavioral engineers, because that's not what we're doing here. I mean, these are usually tools that are not talked about and they're just deployed on you. Like in Twitter, you just have a general sense of ennui instead of knowing what behaviors you're trying to give to yourself or give to your community, and it's transparent, right? But if you look at the way Twitter and Google and those guys do it, they do a lot of A/B testing. Do we have any plans to integrate some kind of A/B testing as we bring in new metrics and things like that? And maybe you guys can speak to that a little bit.
We don't have any plans. It would definitely be something that you could show value, right? So it's definitely open.
Cool. I hope that I'm not the only one who likes A/B tests. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. Cool.
One of the comments I put in the replies to the meeting was that we're going to need to start coming up with a list of items that we want in the metrics and prioritize them and put them out there for everyone to make comments on.
Right. And that's definitely part of this RFI too. So if you have a few things that, just off the top of your head, I would say everyone just start posting them in the replies to the Den RFI post that's in DENDAO.
Okay.
Because we can compile from that, because otherwise we'll miss stuff, So think about like, what do you expect to see on a leaderboard, right? Because it might seem obvious to you, but that's not always obvious, or sometimes it's just missed. So cool. What are the most important things to make sure we show? If you have an idea of how to display that and how that might be a good way to present that, throw that in there. But basically, we got to get a list of what to put up there, and then we got to figure out how we're going to capture that, and if it needs to be computed from something that's on chain, or if there's already something that's there, and then obviously the UI part of it being how does it show up? Are there sections where there's for example, in the governance section on Den, there's different icons at the top, and you can look at different categories of GIs, right? So, do we display it like that, to where it's kind of like a tabbed interface, which I personally think we might want to get to on more things than just that. For example, the list of layers, discovery of new layers. A lot of people don't know, if you scroll down to the end of what you're subscribed to, the list starts over again to this stuff that you haven't subscribed to, things like that.
Do you, would you be willing to just when you I love this idea of just throwing those comments in there. I'd love to see a post from you guys specifically, like just throwing what you think are some of the most obvious ones out there first, also as an example of what one of these posts looks like, so people have a little bit of a model to follow in, so just how to format it and how to talk about it.
That's a good idea. You mean like in the replies there, you mean?
About metrics yet, so.
Yeah, I was supposed to have done that already. I haven't had time. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I think definitely it's a really good idea to put at least things like the layers some sort of representation of community health, whether that is, like active subscribers, or how often there's a post in that layer, or how often there's participation in the evaluation, right?
Right. Number of
part-
unique anonymous posts.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. So like where are the anonymous posts going? Which, by the way, you can follow anonymous on Den, and it's just you get a list of anytime anybody posts anything anonymous, it goes to that list. So you can kind of follow along.
Cool.
You don't know who it is, you're right, but it's all in the same list already. So that's something that since it's designed that way already, it's probably pretty easy to then add a metric of which ones get the most in on posts and which ones don't.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What are we missing though for leaderboard? What are we not thinking about?
Inactive subscribers, inactive layers, inactive individuals, or count of some sort. Activity and inactivity, I think, needs to be added in there.
Yeah, we might want to add something as an example, both to the LCP process and to the LCP layers, to say, if they're inactive for a certain period of time, that they get taken down or turned off, and that they be brought back, or who knows what, right?
That could be something with like the especially with the business layers, right? Because there's that fee associated with inactivity, where you could show, you don't even have to show the fees. You could just show the, like, let's say there's a discount applied relative to activity on what that monthly fee is. You could just show which business layers are in which category of activity that way, or something like that. You could use that same metric, and maybe don't display it as here's how much they're getting charged. You just display it as, here's your ordered list of active, like how active they are, top tier, or slow mode, or whatever it is.
Maybe like most tipped, or most unique tip, or
there we go, tips.
Tip. Yeah,
we weren't even thinking about that, tips, because that's a whole other thing. Is
who's the best tipper?
Yeah, who's the best tipper? Who do you want to suck up to get tips?
Who's stingy?
Yeah, and that's also with DMs, and this leads into the educational thing too. Maybe you didn't know you could tip. Maybe you didn't know that you could set a minimum fee for people DMing you in the first place, right?
Yeah, like nobody wants to be number one on the stingy list,
Yeah, well, I think a list of like
teach you how to tip.
Yeah, it could be interesting to show, like a leaderboard of who's earning the most money from their DMs, right? Or the most rewards, I should say, for their DMs. That's something I hadn't been thinking about at all.
Also, maybe governance activity too, like voting consistency, voting attendance.
Voting would be good.
A lot
voting would be good.
A lot of legislatures do that kind of thing, where they have like at the end of the year they'll publish a book of who voted what on what, but also some stats in the front that are like how many yay votes, how many nay votes, how many not votes.
Chat rooms. What if you're looking to see every layer has its own chat room, right? And you don't automatically know which ones are active and which ones don't have anybody talking in them. So showing which chat rooms are most active would give people an idea of where to go if they want to chat with other denizens, right? Because not every layer has an active chat room. It's there, but not everyone is active. So that could be something in there.
Layer growth rate is something that I always look at.
Oh yeah, there we go. See, that's really interesting too. Yep. Especially after LCP ends every month, you could see among the winning layers, you could see, and you could even reset that every month to have just displaying the new layers, so you stop picking on the old ones after a while.
And that goes into the query. What was the subscription to this layer year to date? What's the subscription? How much did it grow over the last 12 months?
Yeah.
So we need a kind of a snapshot of 12 months ago versus today, and that kind of leaderboard.
What that makes me think of is back to the incentivization, right? Behavioral incentives and things like that. Because if we want growth, which we do, then if you're showing, okay, like maybe there's a prize, I guess is what I'm getting at. So let's say we have 3 winning layers this month. Let's say nobody does the thing where they pay the fee to get the layers that didn't win, and it's just the 3. Well, then you're off to the races next week, and maybe there's a week to win the fastest growth of a new layer category, and then all of the owners, all of the lot holders, maybe there's a reward associated with that, and you get an extra payout of matter or something that gets distributed, right? So that would drive people to grow their layers and try to compete in that, which would be helpful for everybody on the whole platform.
It would be super neat then. In light of that, would be like a metric that someone could when they create their account say, this person brought me to Den, like this Den user, to where you could then capture sort of like who's the best,
referral programs and stuff have been
who's the best
mentioned
missionary
before.
for Den kind of thing.
Something I'm really interested in is seeing how much that is prime for things like street teams and bands and things like that to use is the external boost and the way that works. So you could see things like, where are the external boosts going the most and things like that.
Yeah.
So cool. All of these are fantastic. I don't want to cut it off, but I do want to.
I have a long list. I'll post it after.
Let's definitely. And over the weekend, I'll have more time as well, and I can get in there and we can discuss, those particular things and come up with a list that is a very good list of things to put on a leaderboard.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely don't want to turn into like the shrimp conversation from Forrest Gump or anything like that. Probably. We can probably list metrics all day.
That's all I know about leaderboards.
I was just looking over the agenda again there. All right, so let's see. Let me look real quick to see if there's anything we didn't cover in that list. There's some things. Thank you to Hodl Signal, to Jacob Wayne, to Hyperion Frequency, who did put in some ideas, because that's awesome. And let's see, search and the metrics matter. What else? Let's see. Layer view metric, daily layer view metric. Essential show number of times a layer page was clicked on versus. Okay, so like a counter. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, counter.
See how many times people are looking at the content. Because a lot of people look at content and never even vote on it. So that's something. You can see how many times it was loaded to a unique IP address, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, impressions are really important in pretty much like if they expose that, like most people
impressions. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Like that should be front and center, because so many people just consume content and don't feel comfortable voting or sharing or whatever. They just want to check it out, but that's still something we can capture.
Something else, Hyperion Frequency hinted at this, but there's a thing on the prioritization list called the happy button, and it sort of gives you an indication of how positive or negative you're sounding, how you're coming off in the in what you've written, and that could be something that's added to like how happy or how positive or negative the vibe is, some kind of vibe metric for the layers.
Ooh,
all of these
really
things,
cool on top of that, man.
What's that?
Like let people self-report and see how they match up, kind of a game of reveal. Like, I felt happy. Did we put it right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So thanks for all of those. And I skipped one. So let me read it to myself real quick, because I can't read and talk very well at the same time. Anything related to active user? Yeah, active users data. That's why I keep. Some forums do have sort of a like a post per minute or post per hour, like metric where they're sorted that way, or you can at least see how active it is that way. And that's a really good one to see where the activity is. Same with the chat rooms, to see what the activity is. Maybe the chat rooms are the ones that get the tempo score. Maybe that's more appropriate. How do we measure non-active users? And then subscriber growth. Yeah, the growth rate, that's important too. I think a lot of the comments seem to be leaning towards being able to display in a simple way how active, how fast it's growing, how much energy is being put in, so you can just see where the really good stuff is, I guess, or see what your competition is. If you're going at it to gamify, you should be able to see what the top posts are, where the top earners are, so that you can see, oh man, I'm getting this much, they're getting that much. What can I take some notes on what they're doing and look into that. Cool.
This week,
Awesome.
I could just see Coffee with Den doing the Emmys on the Den.Social Emmys for best content, best creator, best evaluator.
Dun,
Goes to
yeah. There's no reason you can't
That'd be pretty
do
awesome.
that kind of thing, you know. And then you could display the rewards or the awards on a maybe on your personal page or on the leaderboard. So like all of those things, for all those reasons, that's why I think it's good right now to have the leaderboard being put in place, because I imagine that as we roll out additional features after this is passed, that they're still going to be integrated into the leaderboard. Like that's the place they go. For example, the canaries, you know, or for example, the, you know, cross posting, you can, you know, add that on there for seeing which ones are posted between.
Which we have talked about canaries here, right? So
a little bit, yeah, they're in place, they exist, but they're not really displayed on the website or anything like that. So that's one of the options on there. Cool. So that's the those are the things we wanted to talk about today. And I do want to keep this at an hour because there's meetings in the next 12 minutes. So we got a little bit of time right now. I am for I am. Here's what you posted.
Yes.
And that's yes. So
what we discussed, we were talking about on Coffee with Den.
Yes. Yeah. And that's been mentioned a couple of times. And it's a really good idea. So another meeting item, providing there's time for discussion, potential implementation of library or odyssey.com as a video link posting with player. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree on that. Right now, I don't know if Vimeo still works. Vimeo changed some stuff. YouTube changed some stuff too. But YouTube, Vimeo at least used to work, and then SoundCloud works, even though it's not a video. If you put a SoundCloud link in the video field, that will work as well. Yep. So we can...
do you want me like just write this up as a proposal, and post it?
Well, I would say yes.
Or do we need to discuss this further? How should we go about
What do you think, Joe? Could I defer to you?
Adding library.
You could
because I know that you would love to have it too. So like what's the process for adding, like how do we do that?
I mean, I guess it would be either a full-on proposal or a post for discussion prior to a proposal. If you already think maybe something like this there's enough known to just say we would like a library link capability for the video posting, and
that's kind of what I was wondering. Yeah, because I think we have to figure out how much of a lift it is, and if it's something as simple as like, oh, we do the same thing we did for YouTube because library is compatible with that type of display.
I mean, frankly,
maybe it's easier than we thought. I don't know.
Yeah, the DAO probably needs to formalize how we go from RFI or discussion into a proposal and then into the vote for priority and then into funding, right? So all that should be formalized really, and it's not yet.
Right, because we have had things like the sidebar that wasn't a proposal, but there was a solid discussion on it, and then it just kind of happened. Yep. So I guess that's where to start. Where to start is a discussion instead of open a discussion about it to find out if it needs to be a proposal or if it needs to be something that we can just do in process of doing something else.
Something we do at Rivet that might be useful here is that we have two channels that we chat in. One is called low hanging fruit, where it's like obvious ideas. Why haven't we done this already? Kind of slap your forehead type of stuff. And then another one called outlandish ideas, where we go in and sort of encourage people to say, like, what if there were no technical limitations and we had all the engineering time in the world and we were operating a Turing machine that had infinite compute time compressed into a second? What could we build? What would be neat as opposed to what's feasible? And both of those channels tend to yield pretty good ideas from time to time, even though there's like a lot of zany stuff and outlandish ideas. It also frees people up to create.
Good idea to organize them that way, so you instead of having them all in the same bucket.
Yep. That's awesome.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
So I would say open a discussion.
Okay, I'll post a discussion tonight.
Cool. Thank you very much.
And
all
you
right.
let me post that right here in DENDAO, right?
Yeah, DENDAO I think would be where that would go, right, Joe?
Or do you want that
Den, but
in
DENDAO.
DENDAO,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that'll be good. I'll have time this weekend to talk about it too, as well as with this RFI. All right, so let's see. What have I got over here? There's prioritization vote, which is just passed, layer metric leaderboard. So we will not be voting on that for a little while. Just running through my notes here. Let's see. All right. That might be what we've got today. Unless there's any last minute topics we want to talk about. And thanks for joining in chat, Lisa, and for all of the feedback there as well.
Yes.
All right. Joe, anything further from yourself?
Nope. I think it's all.
I am for I am.
No, I think that's it.
All
I have
right.
a hard break at 3 myself.
Cool. Greg, anything you want to throw out?
I think that this was really awesome, and sorry to be an idea bomb thrower. I know I'm really terrible.
No, dude.
Like,
You're great with ideas. That's why you would do really well in that one, sky's the limit conversation. You're always really good on what's possible.
Yeah, I tend to just sort of like hurl them out of my brain before I realize my tongue's moving. So thanks for humoring me and being patient with it. But
happy to do it. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here, guys.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll have this meeting again next week, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Do check out the other stuff that goes on in Den. This isn't the only thing that happens. We had World Blockchain Roundtable earlier today. That happens on Thursdays also. That's 11 Eastern. Submit questions on the World Blockchain Roundtable posts as you see them. Go vote in the WBRT governance. If you're a lot holder, if you've participated and gotten your question on there, then you have voting power. So go vote on what questions should be up for, I guess it's September already coming around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Super Happy Dragon Lucky is hosted on Tuesdays. That's in the Dragon Chain layer. And that always has at least a 3-question AMA, and once a month there's a full AMA of however much stuff gets in there. So go look for that post, and if you have a pressing question for Joe, he'll hit it up on the AMA. There's some rules apply to how to ask the question to make sure that it gets in there. So go look at that and ask them. I have a show on Wednesdays called Coffee with Den. Now, yesterday I was going to go live in a new layer yesterday, but I ended up doing one last one in the Den layer. But next week, we'll be going live in the Coffee with Den layer itself. And what I've done is I've gone through all 39 episodes that we did prior to yesterday, and I tallied up everybody who had participated so far, asking questions, coming on the show, chiming in chat. And I'm pretty sure I've got everybody, and I tried to, as best as I could without taking way too much time, give everybody one lot per interaction, basically, right? I gave some extra lot to the denizen who created our artwork for us, things like that. So I took a little bit of liberty here and there, not much, but except for a couple of instances, it's a 1-for-1 on all of that. So there's 40, I want to say 48, 49, 84. There's 84 owners. So that was cool. Yeah.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of lot holders in there. So that'll be Wednesday in the new layer, and then that's going to be available to post and talk about kind of the water cooler of Den if you want to look at it that way. So there'll be more than just the weekly shows in there going forward.
Cool.
So
Nice.
that's our weekly shows and meetings that we have on Den, and I'm on a lot of them, not all of them, but I'll see you on them. So, all right, thanks everyone. I'll stop rambling because that's what I'm doing, and I'll see you next week. Take it
See
easy.
ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.